My name is Adrian, 29 years old, and my wedding day almost fell apart when my father chose my sister over me. After agreeing to walk me down the aisle, he backed out when Vanessa suddenly scheduled her party the same day. The sister, who had always been jealous of me, had won again or so, I thought. What my father never expected was who would step in to take his place, and his reaction when he found out still sends shivers down my spine. Before I continue my story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear more family drama stories that will make yours seem normal. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Allentown, Pennsylvania, our family seemed picture-perfect from the outside. Our modest two-story home with the white picket fence and well-maintained garden was the envy of the block. Mom planted tulips every spring, and Dad would spend weekends teaching me how to ride a bike or throw a baseball. Those are the memories I hold on to tightly. My father, Richard, was my absolute hero throughout my early childhood. Standing 6 feet tall with salt and pepper hair that appeared prematurely in his 30s, he had a commanding presence but the gentlest smile. He worked as a financial advisor at a local firm, wearing crisp suits that I thought made him look like a movie star. Every morning before leaving for work, he would make time to sit with me at breakfast, asking about my day ahead, while Mom packed my lunch. "Adrian, you have the brightest mind I have ever seen," he would tell me, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "You are going to change the world someday." Those words meant everything to me. While other kids dreaded school projects, I would throw myself into them with enthusiasm, knowing my dad would help me create the best science fair volcano or history presentation. When I brought home straight, as he would put my report card on the refrigerator and take me for ice cream to celebrate. My mother, Eleanor, was the peacekeeper of our family. With her warm brown eyes and patient demeanor, she balanced out my father's occasional strictness. She worked part-time as a nurse at the local hospital, always putting our needs before her own. I remember how she would sit with me for hours helping with homework or teaching me to bake her famous chocolate chip cookies that the whole neighborhood raved about. The dynamic in our house shifted dramatically when I was 12. Mom started feeling tired all the time, and within 3 months, we received the devastating diagnosis, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The following 6 months were a blur of hospital visits, whispered conversations between adults, and watching my vibrant mother wither away before my eyes. When she passed, it left a gaping hole in our family that we never properly addressed. My sister Vanessa is 3 years older than me, and our relationship was complicated from the start. Even before Mom died, Vanessa seemed to resent the close bond I shared with our father. Tall and athletic, where I was petite and bookish, Vanessa excelled at sports, while I was drawn to art and literature. Mom always tried to celebrate our different strengths equally, but Vanessa perceived every compliment I received as a slight against her. After Mom died, the tension between us escalated. Dad threw himself into his work, often staying at the office until 9 or 10 at night. I suspect it was his way of avoiding the painful emptiness of our home. His absence created a vacuum that Vanessa quickly filled, appointing herself as the new lady of the house at 15 years old. "Dad is dealing with enough without your constant neediness," she would scold when I asked when he might come home for dinner. "He has important clients to take care of. We need to be strong for him." I watched as Vanessa transformed into someone I barely recognized. She began cooking meals, though they were nothing like Mom's, and taking control of household decisions. Dad seemed grateful for her stepping up, and their relationship strengthened while mine with him began to deteriorate. The business success that followed Mom's death only made things worse. Dad was promoted to senior partner at his firm, which meant more money but even less time. Vanessa manipulated this situation masterfully, using guilt trips and emotional tactics to maintain her position as his favorite. Adrian just spent $60 on art supplies, she would tell him conveniently, omitting that it was for a school project he had forgotten about. Or, Adrian said, "She does not need you to come to her band concert because she knows how busy you are," when I had actually been counting the days, hoping he would attend. By the time I reached high school, Vanessa had crafted an entirely false narrative about me to our father. According to her, I was rebellious, ungrateful, and only interested in my friends. The truth was that I had retreated into my studies and art as a way to cope with losing both my mother and, increasingly, my father. The ultimate betrayal came during my junior year when I was nominated for a prestigious art scholarship. The award ceremony was scheduled on a Thursday evening, and I had reminded Dad for weeks. The night before, I overheard Vanessa on the phone with him. "Adrian told me she does not want to make a big deal about tomorrow," she said. "Actually, she mentioned that having you there might make her nervous. Maybe you should just send a card or something." The next day, I sat alone at the ceremony, watching other students with their proud parents as I accepted my award. Dad sent a text message with congratulations, mentioning he had an important client dinner. I later discovered from his assistant that Vanessa had called his office, claiming I had asked to reschedule the ceremony, causing him to book another commitment. When I confronted her, Vanessa simply shrugged. "You always want all the attention. It is pathetic." By 18, I could not wait to leave for college. I applied to schools on the other side of the state, eager for distance from the toxic environment at home. The University of Pittsburgh offered me a partial scholarship, and I threw myself into campus life-limiting visits home to major holidays where I would endure Vanessa's subtle jabs and my father's distant politeness. It was during my sophomore year that I met Benjamin. We shared an English literature class, and he asked to borrow my notes after missing a lecture due to the flu. Tall with kind eyes and a quick smile, Benjamin was studying engineering and had a logical mind that balanced my more creative thinking. Our coffee meetup to exchange notes turned into a 3-hour conversation, and within a month we were inseparable. Benjamin came from a warm, boisterous family that immediately embraced me. His mother, Laura, a kindergarten teacher, with a talent for making everyone feel special. His father, Henry, a civil engineer with a dry sense of humor, and his younger brother, Noah, all welcomed me into their home as if I had always belonged there. Through 4 years of college and into our early careers, Benjamin remained my rock. He understood my family issues without judgment, holding me when holidays with them left me in tears, and celebrating my achievements when my own father failed to acknowledge them. After graduation, I secured a position at a marketing firm in Philadelphia, while Benjamin joined an engineering consultancy in the same city. We rented a small apartment together, building our careers and our relationship far from the shadow of my family drama. I maintained obligatory monthly calls with my father, which were typically brief and superficial. Vanessa, now working in real estate and still living in our hometown, continued to position herself as the dutiful daughter, making sure to remind me on the rare occasions we spoke that she was the one taking care of Dad. By 27, I had been promoted to marketing executive, leading campaigns for major clients and earning recognition in the industry. Benjamin had similarly advanced in his field, and our life together was fulfilling beyond what I had imagined possible. The wounds from my family remained, but I had created a new life where I was valued and loved. Benjamin proposed on our 5th anniversary. He had planned an entire day, reminiscent of our first date's breakfast at the cafe where we used to study, a visit to the art museum I loved, and dinner at the Italian restaurant where we had celebrated my college graduation. When the dessert arrived, I found a small velvet box next to my tiramisu. Adrian, he said, taking my hands across the table, you have made these past 5 years the best of my life. Your creativity, your kindness, and your strength amaze me every day. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? The ring was perfect, a vintage-style sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds. Benjamin later told me he had chosen it because it reminded him of my artistic spirit, unique rather than conventional. In the joy of the moment, I pushed aside the anxiety about sharing our news with my family. For one perfect evening, I wanted to simply be happy without the shadow of past disappointments looming over me. The next morning, I called my father. After exchanging our usual pleasantries, I took a deep breath and shared my news. Dad, I wanted you to know that Benjamin proposed last night, and I said yes. The pause that followed lasted a beat too long. Well, congratulations, he finally said, his tone more appropriate for hearing about a minor work achievement than his daughter's engagement. He seems like a good guy. Have you set a date? No excitement, no questions about the proposal, no offer to celebrate, just practical inquiries delivered in the same tone he might use to discuss a business transaction. Not yet, I replied, trying to mask my disappointment. We are thinking maybe next summer. Let me know when you decide. I should check my calendar. After hanging up, I sat on our couch, fighting back tears. Benjamin found me there and immediately understood. He will come around, he assured me, though I could tell he did not fully believe it himself. Vanessa's reaction was even more telling. When I texted her the news with a photo of the ring, her response was effusively congratulatory to the point of being obviously insincere. OMG, congrats, little sis, so happy for you. That ring is pretty. The excessive exclamation points could not mask what I knew was seething jealousy. Vanessa, at 32, had gone through a series of short-lived relationships, but never seemed to find someone willing to commit long-term. Despite the lukewarm response from my family, we proceeded with planning. After considering various options, we settled on June 15th as our wedding date, giving us 9 months to arrange everything. The date worked well for Benjamin's family, my closest friends, and importantly, my father confirmed he was available. We sent save-the-date cards 8 months in advance, wanting to give everyone plenty of notice. My father received his, and in our next phone call actually sounded somewhat enthusiastic. I have put it in my calendar, he said. Vanessa mentioned it to me as well. Actually, Dad, I ventured carefully. I was hoping you would walk me down the aisle. Another pause, but this time when he spoke, I detected genuine emotion in his voice. I would be honored, Adrian. That single moment of connection gave me hope that perhaps my wedding might help heal some of the distance between us. The following months were filled with venue tours, catering tastings, and dress fittings. We found a beautiful historic hotel in Philadelphia with a garden terrace for the ceremony and an elegant ballroom for the reception. Benjamin's mother, Laura, joined me for many of these appointments, offering suggestions without being overbearing and expressing excitement about every detail. You are going to be the most beautiful bride, she told me during my first dress, fitting tears in her eyes as I emerged from the dressing room in a fitted lace gown with delicate beading. In that moment, I felt the absence of my own mother more acutely than I had in years. Laura seemed to sense this, gently squeezing my hand. Your mom would be so proud of the woman you have become. As we continued planning, I also grew closer to Benjamin's uncle Jack, his mother's brother-in-law. Jack was in his early 60s, a retired English professor with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He had never married or had children of his own, but he doted on Benjamin and Noah as if they were his sons. At family gatherings, Jack always made a point to engage me in conversation about books, art, or my work in marketing. Unlike many older relatives who asked polite but disinterested questions, Jack listened attentively and offered thoughtful responses. "You have a remarkable eye for what moves people," he said after I showed him a campaign I had developed for a nonprofit client. "That is a rare gift." During one Sunday dinner at Benjamin's parents' home, Jack mentioned that he had reserved a hotel room for the wedding weekend. "I would not miss it for the world," he said, with a warm smile. "I have already bought a new suit for the occasion." His genuine enthusiasm was a stark contrast to my own family's responses. My father would confirm his attendance during our calls, but never initiated any questions about the wedding plans. Vanessa had declined to be a bridesmaid, citing work commitments, though she did say she would attend. 5 months before the wedding, I began to notice troubling signs. Vanessa started making vague comments on social media about a big event she was planning. When I called to ask about it, she was evasive. "Just something for work," she said dismissively. "Nothing for you to worry about." But as our wedding date approached, I noticed more posts, venue scouting, discussing catering options, mentioning June as a target date. A knot of anxiety began to form in my stomach, but I tried to push it aside, focusing instead on finalizing our own plans. The bombshell dropped exactly 3 months before our wedding day. Vanessa called me on a Sunday afternoon, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Adrian, I wanted to let you know personally, before you see it on social media, I am hosting a career achievement party on June 15th. I have finally hit my sales target to become a broker, and the firm is throwing me a huge celebration." My blood ran cold. "Vanessa, that is my wedding day. You received the save the date card 8 months ago." "Did I?" She feigned surprise. "It must have slipped my mind when I was planning with the firm. Anyway, it is just a coincidence that the dates overlap. My event is earlier in the day, starting at 11 in the morning at the country club. It should be winding down around the time your ceremony starts at 4, so it works out perfectly." "Perfectly," I repeated, my voice rising. "You are scheduling a party on my wedding day, knowing Dad will have to choose." "Dad can attend both events," she replied smoothly. "He is so proud of my achievement, but I am sure he will make it to your wedding too. It is not that far a drive." The country club was nearly 2 hours from our wedding venue, making it physically impossible for anyone attending her event to arrive in time for our ceremony, especially the father of the bride, who would need to be there early. After hanging up, I immediately called my father, hoping he would see through Vanessa's manipulation. "Dad, did you know Vanessa scheduled her work party on my wedding day?" "Yes, she mentioned it," he replied casually. "It is unfortunate timing, but these work events can be hard to reschedule. It is a big achievement for her." "But Dad, how will you attend both? You are supposed to walk me down the aisle." "I will make it work, Adrian. I will go to the first part of Vanessa's event and then drive over for your ceremony. There is no need to make this a bigger issue than it is." But as the weeks passed, I could sense my father wavering. During our calls, he began mentioning the traffic between venues, asking if we could push the ceremony back an hour, wondering if I really needed him there for the pre-wedding photos. Despite the growing tension, our wedding plans continued. Final dress fittings, meetings with the photographer confirming flower arrangements, and assembling welcome bags for out-of-town guests kept me busy. Benjamin and his family remained supportive, though I could tell they were increasingly concerned about my father's commitment. Then, just 2 weeks before the wedding, I received the call that confirmed my worst fears. It was a Tuesday evening, and I was reviewing seating charts when my phone rang with my father's number. "Adrian," he began, his voice uncomfortable. "I need to talk to you about the wedding." The formality in his tone told me everything before he even continued. "I have been thinking about the logistics for June 15th, and I do not think I can make it to the ceremony on time. Vanessa's event is really important to her career, and as her father, I need to be there for the whole thing. The timing just does not work out. I grip the phone tightly, fighting to keep my voice steady. You are choosing not to walk me down the aisle at my wedding. It is not about choosing, he said defensively. It is about practical timing. Vanessa's event is earlier, and I cannot be in two places at once. Maybe you could ask Benjamin's father to walk you down the aisle. Or your friend's dad. I am sure someone else can do it. Someone else. As if walking your daughter down the aisle was an interchangeable task that could be delegated to a stranger. I see, I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. I will still come to the reception, he added, as if offering a generous compromise. I should be able to make it by 7 or so, depending on traffic. After mumbling goodbye, I dropped the phone and collapsed onto the floor in tears. Benjamin found me there 20 minutes later, when he returned from work, immediately rushing to my side. He is not coming, I sobbed into his shoulder. He is choosing Vanessa's party over walking me down the aisle. Benjamin held me tightly, his own anger evident in his tense shoulders and clenched jaw. I am so sorry, Adrian. He does not deserve you. That night, as we lay in bed discussing options, Benjamin gently raised the possibility of postponing the wedding. We could move it to another date, he suggested. Give your dad no excuse not to be there. The thought had crossed my mind too, but something inside me rebelled against it. No, I said firmly. I am not rearranging our wedding because of Vanessa's manipulations. That is exactly what she wants. The next day, Benjamin's mother called to check on wedding details and immediately sensed something was wrong. I found myself pouring out the whole story to her over the phone. Oh, sweetheart, Laura said, her voice filled with motherly concern. I cannot believe your father would do this to you. I do not know what to do, I admitted. Part of me wants to call and beg him to reconsider, but I know that is what Vanessa expects. She wants me to seem desperate. Listen to me, Laura said firmly. This is your day, yours and Benjamin's, to not let anyone diminish it. Your father is making a choice he will regret for the rest of his life, but that is his burden to bear, not yours. Her words gave me strength, but the question remained, who would walk me down the aisle? The traditional father-daughter moment had been something I had dreamed about, despite our difficult relationship. The thought of walking alone felt like a public acknowledgement of my father's rejection. Later that week, I received an unexpected call from Benjamin's uncle Jack. Benjamin told me what happened, he said gently. I hope you do not mind him sharing. Of course not, I replied, touched that he would call to check on me. I know this is a difficult time, Jack continued. Family disappointments cut the deepest. Something in his tone suggested personal experience with such pain. It sounds like you understand. A pause. More than you might guess. My own father refused to attend my college graduation because he disapproved of my choice to study literature instead of business. Some wounds never fully heal, but we learn to build beautiful lives despite them. His wisdom and kindness brought fresh tears to my eyes. Thank you for understanding, Jack. Anytime, dear. And remember, family is not just about blood. It is about who shows up for you when it matters. 1 week before the wedding, I hit rock bottom emotionally. Despite the excited emails from friends arriving in town and the final confirmations from vendors, I found myself sitting on our bathroom floor at midnight, overwhelmed by grief. The wedding I had planned was coming together perfectly, except for the gaping hole left by my father's absence. The next morning, Benjamin suggested I meet his mother for lunch. Mom really wants to see you, he said. Just the two of you. Laura was waiting at a quiet corner table in a small cafe when I arrived. She stood to hug me tightly before we sat down. "Benjamin is worried about you," she said, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. "We all are." "I am trying to be strong," I replied, stirring my tea without drinking it. "I keep telling myself it does not matter, that I am better off without Dad there if this is how he treats me. But then I think about walking into the ceremony alone, and I just feel—" Abandoned Laura finished softly. "It is okay to feel that way, Adrian. What your father is doing is wrong, and you have every right to be hurt." We ordered lunch, though I had little appetite. As we picked at our salads, Laura seemed to be gathering her thoughts. "There is something I think you should know," she finally said. "Something about Jack that might help you understand why he called you." I looked up curious. "What about him?" "Jack is actually my late husband's brother," she explained. "When I met Henry, Jack was already estranged from their parents. Their father was a very rigid, traditional man who never forgave Jack for choosing academia over the family construction business." I nodded, recalling Jack's comment about his father missing his graduation. "What you might not know is that I was married once before Henry," Laura continued. "A brief, unfortunate union when I was very young. When I decided to marry Henry, my father refused to attend because he thought it was shameful for me to have a second wedding. He said it would embarrass him in front of his friends." "That is terrible," I murmured. "It was Jack who offered to walk me down the aisle," she said, a small smile forming. "He understood what it was like to be rejected by a parent. He told me, 'Laura, you deserve to be given away by someone who celebrates your happiness, not someone who judges it.'" Her story resonated deeply with my situation. "I had no idea Jack did that for you." "He never had children of his own," Laura continued. "But he has been the most wonderful uncle to Benjamin and Noah. He attends every school play, graduation, and important moment. He shows up, Adrian. That is what real family does." The implication of her story was clear, but she was too tactful to say it directly. Still, the idea began to form in my mind. "Do you think—" I started hesitantly. "Would it be inappropriate to ask Jack if he would walk me down the aisle?" Laura's eyes filled with tears. "Oh, sweetheart, I think it would mean the world to him. But this has to be your decision, not something you feel pressured into." I spent the next day considering the idea, turning it over in my mind. Jack had always shown genuine interest in my life and had been nothing but kind to me since I entered Benjamin's family. There was something poetic about being walked down the aisle by someone who truly understood parental rejection. That evening, I called Jack and asked if we could meet for coffee the following day. He agreed immediately, and we arranged to meet at a bookstore cafe near his apartment. When I arrived, Jack was already there, a stack of books on the table and 2 coffees waiting. "I took the liberty of ordering your usual," he said with a warm smile. "Vanilla latte, with an extra shot right." The fact that he remembered such a small detail about me only confirmed what I already knew about his character. After some small talk about the books he had purchased, I gathered my courage. "Jack, there is something I wanted to ask you." He set down his coffee cup, giving me his full attention. "Anything, Adrian." "I do not know if Benjamin told you, but my father has decided not to walk me down the aisle." The words still hurt to say out loud. Jack nodded solemnly. "Benjamin mentioned there was some conflict. I am truly sorry you are experiencing this." I took a deep breath. "Laura told me how you walked her down the aisle at her wedding to Henry, and how meaningful that was to her. I was wondering. I would be honored if you would consider doing the same for me." Jack's expression shifted from surprise to profound emotion. For a moment, he seemed unable to speak, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Adrian," he finally said, his voice thick, "I cannot tell you what this means to me. Are you certain? This should be a special moment with someone you are close to." "I am absolutely certain," I replied, feeling more confident by the second. "You have shown me more genuine interest and support in the years I have known you than my father has in a decade. I would be proud to have you walk me down the aisle." Jack reached across the table and took my hand in his. "Then I accept with all my heart. It would be one of the greatest honors of my life." The weight that had been crushing me for weeks suddenly felt lighter. Jack was right. Family was about who showed up, not just shared DNA. The final days before the wedding were a whirlwind of activity. Final vendor confirmations, welcome bags to assemble out-of-town guests beginning to arrive. Through it all, I felt a new sense of peace about my decision. I made one last attempt to reach out to my father, calling him 3 days before the wedding. "Dad, I just wanted to confirm whether you are still planning to come to the reception." "Yes, I should be able to make it after Vanessa's event," he replied, sounding distracted. "Probably around 7:30 or 8. I swallowed hard. "I also wanted you to know that I have asked Benjamin's Uncle Jack to walk me down the aisle." A pause. "Who?" "Jack Harris, Benjamin's uncle. He has been very supportive throughout our relationship." "I see." His tone was unreadable. "Well, I suppose someone has to do it if I cannot be there on time." His dismissive response only confirmed I had made the right choice. The night before the wedding, we held a small rehearsal dinner at a restaurant near the hotel. Jack attended, looking distinguished in a charcoal suit. During the dinner, he stood to offer a toast that brought tears to many eyes. "To Adrian and Benjamin," he said, raising his glass. "True love is not just about finding the right person, but also about creating a family of choice that supports and celebrates you. I have watched your relationship blossom over these years, and the care and respect you show each other gives me hope for the future. I am deeply honored to play a small role in your special day tomorrow." Later that evening, as guests were leaving, I checked social media one last time and saw posts from Vanessa about her career celebration. The photos showed nothing more than simple decorations in her apartment, with maybe a dozen people tagged. It was clearly not the grand corporate event she had described, just a regular house party she had scheduled specifically to conflict with my wedding. The knowledge should have hurt, but instead, I felt a strange sense of clarity. The scales had finally fallen from my eyes about the true nature of my sister's feelings toward me. Her jealousy ran so deep that she would sabotage one of the most important days of my life simply out of spite. I closed the app and turned off my phone, determined not to let her negativity touch me on the eve of my wedding. Tomorrow would be about love, not family drama. I awoke on my wedding day to sunshine streaming through the hotel room curtains. My 3 bridesmaids, all friends from college and work, arrived early with coffee and pastries, their excitement infectious. The hairstylist and makeup artist arrived at 9, and the getting ready process began in earnest. As my friend Sophia was having her hair styled, my phone chimed with a text message from my father. "Good luck today. Vanessa's event starts at 11. If it wraps up early, I might be able to make it to the reception by 7 or 8. Save me some cake." Not a word of regret about missing the ceremony. Not even a congratulations or I love you. Just a reminder that Vanessa's party was his priority. I handed the phone to my bridesmaid Zoe, unable to respond. She read it and shook her head in disbelief. "He is unbelievable," she muttered, giving me a supportive hug. "Try not to let it ruin your day." Around noon, there was a knock at the hotel suite door. When Sophia opened it, Jack was standing there immaculately dressed in his tuxedo, holding a small gift box. "I hope I am not intruding on the preparations," he said. "I just wanted to drop this off for Adrian before the ceremony." I invited him in, touched by his thoughtfulness. The bridesmaids discreetly moved to the bedroom area of the suite to give us a moment of privacy. "You look absolutely radiant," Jack said, his eyes crinkling with genuine warmth. "Benjamin is a very fortunate young man." "Thank you for coming by," I replied. "And for everything else." Jack handed me the small box. "I wanted you to have this today. It belonged to my mother, and I have been saving it for a special occasion." Inside was a delicate vintage handkerchief, edged with intricate lace and embroidered with tiny blue flowers. "Something old, something blue," Jack explained. "My mother carried it on her wedding day in 1930. I thought perhaps you might like to have it with you today." Tears welled in my eyes at the sentiment. "It is beautiful, Jack. I would be honored." "There is one more thing," he added, reaching into his pocket. "Laura asked me to give you this. It was meant to be a surprise." He handed me a small velvet pouch. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a single charm, a paintbrush crossed with a pen. "She remembered you telling her how you loved both writing and painting as a child," Jack explained. "She wanted you to have a reminder of your creative spirit on your wedding day." The thoughtfulness of the gesture overwhelmed me. These people, who had no obligation to me by blood, had shown more care for my happiness than my own family. "Please thank her for me." I managed fastening the bracelet around my wrist. "I will thank her properly later, but this means so much." Jack nodded, understanding the emotion behind my words. "I should let you continue getting ready. I will see you before the ceremony." As the afternoon progressed, I tried to focus on the joy of the day rather than the absence of my father. My bridesmaids helped me into my dress, a fitted lace gown with delicate beading and a sweetheart neckline. With my hair swept up in an elegant updo adorned with small white flowers, my mother's pearl earrings, Laura's bracelet, and Jack's handkerchief tucked into my bouquet, I felt ready to walk down the aisle. At 3:30, the photographer knocked on the door for pre-ceremony photos. As we were finishing, there was another knock. It was Benjamin's mother, Laura. "Oh, Adrian," she breathed, her eyes filling with tears. "You are absolutely stunning." She hugged me, carefully mindful of my dress. "Jack is waiting in the lobby whenever you are ready." At 10 minutes before 4, I made my way to the garden terrace where the ceremony would take place. Through the glass doors, I could see the 90 guests seated in white chairs, the floral arch where Benjamin waited, with the officiant and the string quartet playing softly. Jack was waiting in the small anteroom, looking slightly nervous but composed. When he saw me, his expression was one of pure pride. "Ready?" he asked gently. I nodded, suddenly too emotional to speak. Jack offered his arm, and as the first notes of Canon in D began to play, the doors opened before us. Walking down the aisle with Jack beside me, I felt a curious blend of emotions. There was still a pang of sadness that my father had chosen to miss this moment, but it was overshadowed by gratitude for the man who had stepped in with such grace and kindness. Benjamin's face as he watched me approach was worth every moment of planning, every family drama, every tear shed. His eyes shone with love and wonder, and in that moment I knew with absolute certainty that we were creating our own family, one built on mutual respect and genuine care. The ceremony was everything I had hoped for. We exchanged vows, we had written ourselves, promising to support each other's dreams, to communicate honestly, and to choose each other every day. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, the applause from our guests seemed to wrap around us like an embrace. The cocktail hour and dinner that followed were filled with laughter, toasts, and dancing. Benjamin's father gave a heartfelt speech welcoming me to the family, and Jack's toast brought happy tears to many eyes as he spoke about the privilege of watching young love blossom and grow. By 8:30, it was clear my father would not make even the reception. I tried not to let it dampen my spirits as Benjamin and I shared our first dance to our favorite song. As the evening progressed, I noticed my cousin Thomas arrive, looking slightly frazzled. Thomas was my mother's nephew, and while we were not extremely close, he had always been kind to me. He was also one of the few family members who had maintained relationships with both Vanessa and me over the years. After greeting him with a hug, I commented on his late arrival. "I am so sorry," he said, looking genuinely apologetic. "I stopped by Vanessa's event, first thinking I could make both. But, Adrian, there is something you should know." He guided me to a quiet corner of the reception hall, his expression serious. "That party Vanessa had today. It was not what she told everyone. It was not a work event at all." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" "It was just a regular gathering at her apartment. Maybe 15 people total, mostly her friends from the gym and a couple of coworkers. There was no company recognition, no achievement celebration." I asked her colleague Sarah about the broker promotion, and she looked completely confused. The implications were staggering. So she lied about the whole thing just to create a conflict with my wedding. Thomas nodded grimly. "That is not all. I overheard her talking to your dad. She has been telling him for months that you did not really want him at the wedding, that you only asked him to walk you down the aisle out of obligation." "What? That is completely false." "I know. And there is more." Thomas pulled out his phone and showed me a text exchange between him and Vanessa from months earlier. In it, Vanessa openly admitted to scheduling her party on my wedding day deliberately. "She wanted to force your dad to choose," Thomas explained. "And she made sure he would choose her by telling him you had said horrible things about him to the family." The revelation was both shocking and strangely validating. All these years, I had thought I was being paranoid about Vanessa's manipulations, but here was proof that she had been actively sabotaging my relationship with our father. "Does Dad know any of this?" I asked. Thomas shook his head. "I do not think so. I tried to tell him today, but Vanessa kept interrupting and eventually pulled him away. I am so sorry, Adrian. I should have realized what was happening sooner." I hugged my cousin, grateful for his honesty. "Thank you for telling me, Thomas. At least now I know the truth." As the reception continued, I tried to process this new information. Part of me wanted to call my father immediately and expose Vanessa's lies, but another part recognized that this was my wedding day and I deserved to enjoy it without family drama. I rejoined Benjamin on the dance floor, pushing thoughts of my sister and father aside for the moment. This day was about our love and our future, not the painful past. The reception was winding down around 10:30, with only about 40 guests remaining when I noticed a commotion near the entrance. My heart skipped a beat when I recognized my father's tall figure entering the ballroom, looking uncomfortable in a suit that seemed hastily put on. Benjamin noticed him at the same time and squeezed my hand. "Do you want me to run interference?" I shook my head. "No, I need to handle this." My father approached awkwardly, holding a small gift bag. "Congratulations," he said stiffly, leaning in for an equally stiff hug. "Sorry I am late." Vanessa's thing ran longer than expected. The casual way he referenced missing my entire wedding ceremony made my blood boil, but I maintained my composure. "I am glad you could make it for the last hour of the reception." If he detected the sarcasm in my voice, he did not acknowledge it. Instead, he glanced around the room, taking in the elegant decorations, the remnants of the wedding cake, the small group of guests still dancing. "It looks like it was a nice wedding," he commented, as if discussing a movie he had missed. "It was beautiful," I replied. "Perfect, actually." An uncomfortable silence fell between us before he thrust the gift bag toward me. "This is from Vanessa and me. A set of crystal wine glasses." "Thank you," I said, setting the bag aside without opening it. "Would you like a drink? The bar is still open." He nodded, and we walked to the bar together. As the bartender prepared his scotch, my father finally asked the question I had been expecting. "So, who ended up walking you down the aisle?" Jack Harris the Searched replied, "Benjamin's uncle." My father frowned slightly. "The older gentleman in the navy tuxedo, the one who gave that toast earlier." I nodded, scanning the room and spotting Jack chatting with Laura and Henry at a nearby table. "Yes, that is him." "You had a stranger walk you down the aisle." His tone was incredulous, as if I had made an absurd choice. "He is not a stranger to me," I said firmly. "He has been part of Benjamin's family for years, and he has shown more interest in my life and happiness than you have in a very long time." My father's face flushed with anger. "That is not fair, Adrian. I have always supported you." "Have you?" I challenged the hurt of years finally bubbling to the surface. "You missed my art scholarship ceremony in high school because Vanessa told you I did not want you there. You forgot my college graduation dinner until Benjamin's parents reminded you. And now you skipped my wedding ceremony for Vanessa's fake party." "Fake party? What are you talking about?" At that moment, Thomas approached us. "Uncle Richard, I am glad you made it, even if it is just for the end of the reception." My father nodded curtly. "Thomas, what is this Adrian is saying about Vanessa's party being fake?" Thomas looked between us, clearly realizing he had walked into a tense conversation. "I was just telling Adrian earlier, the party today was not a work event. It was just a regular get-together at Vanessa's apartment." "That cannot be right," my father insisted. "Vanessa said it was for her broker promotion. The firm was sponsoring it." "I asked her colleague Sarah about it," Thomas replied calmly. "There was no promotion, no company event. It was just a party Vanessa planned on the same day as Adrian's wedding." My father's expression shifted from disbelief to confusion. Before he could respond, Jack approached our small group. "Adrian Benjamin is looking for you. I believe it is almost time for the sparkler send-off." My father stared at Jack with barely concealed hostility. "You must be the uncle who walked my daughter down the aisle." Jack extended his hand politely. "Jack Harris, you must be Richard. It is good to finally meet you." My father ignored the outstretched hand. "I do not understand why my daughter needed to have a stranger take my place at her wedding." "Dad, stop it!" I hissed, mortified by his behavior. Jack remained composed. "I can understand your confusion. It was an honor to support Adrian on her special day, especially knowing how important the ceremony was to her." "Important to her," my father scoffed. "If it was so important, she could have scheduled it on a day that did not conflict with her sister's event." "My wedding was scheduled 9 months ago," I interjected. "Vanessa deliberately planned her party for the same day, and Thomas has proof of it." Thomas reluctantly showed my father the text messages from Vanessa, where she explicitly stated her intention to create a conflict. My father read them, his face growing increasingly pale. "This cannot be right," he muttered. "Vanessa would not do this." "She has been doing it for years, Dad," I said, my voice breaking. "She has been deliberately driving a wedge between us since Mom died. She lied to you about me not wanting you at my art ceremony, about me not caring if you came to my graduation dinner, and now about me not really wanting you to walk me down the aisle." My father looked genuinely shocked. She told me you said having me walk you down the aisle would be embarrassing because we are not close anymore. She said you only asked out of obligation. That is absolutely not true, I insisted. I wanted you there. I have always wanted you in my life. The realization seemed to hit my father all at once, the years of manipulation suddenly becoming clear to him. His expression shifted from confusion to anger. I need to speak with Vanessa, he said sharply, pulling out his phone. Not now, I pleaded. This is my wedding reception. But he was already dialing, stepping away from our group. I could hear him speaking in terse, angry tones just outside the ballroom doors. Jack placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. I am so sorry about this, Adrian. Should I get Benjamin? I nodded gratefully, feeling overwhelmed by the confrontation. Jack disappeared into the crowd, returning moments later with my new husband. Benjamin took in the situation, quickly putting a protective arm around me. What happened? Before I could explain, my father returned, his face flushed with anger. Vanessa hung up on me. I am going to her apartment right now to get the truth. Dad, please, I said. Can this wait until tomorrow? This is supposed to be a celebration. I need to know if what you are saying is true, he insisted. If Vanessa has been lying to me all these years. She has, Thomas confirmed quietly. I am sorry, Uncle Richard, but it is true. My father looked at me then, at Jack, who was standing supportively beside Benjamin and me. Something about seeing us together seemed to trigger a fresh wave of anger in him. So you replaced me with him, he demanded, gesturing toward Jack. Some random old man you barely know. Jack stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Mr. Evans, I understand you are upset, but this is neither the time nor place for this conversation. Today is about Adrian and Benjamin's marriage, not about past grievances. Do not tell me what this day is about, my father snapped. She is my daughter. Then perhaps you should have acted like her father, Jack, replied evenly. Being a father means showing up not just when it is convenient, but when it matters most. The simple truth of Jack's words seemed to hit my father like a physical blow. He stared at Jack, then at me, his anger suddenly deflating into something that looked almost like shame. I need to go, he said abruptly. I need to talk to Vanessa. Without another word, he turned and strode out of the ballroom, leaving an uncomfortable silence in his wake. Benjamin pulled me close. Are you okay? I nodded, though tears threatened. I just wish he could have seen the truth sooner. Jack's steady presence beside us was comforting. Family revelations are never easy, Adrian, but sometimes they are necessary for healing to begin. Laura and Henry joined us, having witnessed the confrontation from a distance. Laura hugged me tightly. Do not let this overshadow your beautiful day. You and Benjamin deserve all the happiness in the world. We rejoined the remaining guests for the sparkler send-off, creating a magical tunnel of light as Benjamin and I ran through to our waiting car. Despite the confrontation with my father, I felt a curious sense of peace as we drove away. The truth was finally out in the open, and whatever happened next, I had a new family who truly valued me. Benjamin and I spent 2 blissful weeks honeymooning in Greece, exploring ancient ruins by day and enjoying romantic dinners by the Mediterranean at night. The distance from family drama allowed me to process everything that had happened and gain perspective on the revelations of our wedding day. I had turned off notifications from my father and Vanessa, determined to enjoy this special time with my new husband. But when we returned to our apartment in Philadelphia, reality was waiting in my voicemail and email inbox. There were 5 messages from my father, each progressively more apologetic. The final one left just 3 days before our return was particularly raw. Adrian, I do not know if you are listening to these messages, But I need to tell you that you were right about Vanessa. After the wedding, I went to her apartment and confronted her with those text messages Thomas showed me. At first, she denied everything, but when I pressed her, she finally admitted the truth. She has been manipulating both of us for years, telling me you did not want me in your life, while telling you I was too busy for you. I cannot believe I was so blind. I understand if you never want to speak to me again, but I hope someday you will give me a chance to make this right. I am so sorry I missed your wedding. It was unforgivable. There were no messages from Vanessa, but a terse email stating she was taking some time away from family drama and would be traveling for work indefinitely. I sat on our couch staring at my phone long after the messages ended. Benjamin sat beside me, holding my hand in silent support. "What are you thinking?" he finally asked. "I do not know," I admitted. Part of me feels vindicated that Dad finally sees the truth about Vanessa, but another part is just sad for all the years we lost. "Do you want to call him back?" I considered the question carefully. "Not yet. I need some time to figure out what I want this relationship to look like going forward, if I even want one at all." The next few weeks were busy with thank you notes, returning to work, and settling into married life. I maintained contact with Benjamin's family, especially Jack, who called every Sunday evening to check in. "How are you doing, Adrian?" he would ask, his voice warm with genuine concern. Our conversations would range from books we were reading to work projects to deeper discussions about family and forgiveness. Jack never pressured me about reconnecting with my father, but his own experiences offered valuable perspective. Forgiveness is not about excusing the behavior he told me during one call. It is about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. Whatever you decide about your relationship with your father, make sure it brings you peace. A month after our return, I finally called my father. We arranged to meet at a neutral location, a cafe, halfway between Philadelphia and Allentown. He was already there when I arrived, looking older and more tired than I remembered from the wedding. He stood awkwardly as I approached the table. "Adrian, thank you for coming," he said, his voice thick with emotion. We sat down, ordering coffee, to give ourselves something to do with our hands. "I do not even know where to begin," he said after our drinks arrived. "I failed you so completely." "Yes, you did." I agreed, not willing to sugarcoat the truth. "But I want to understand how it happened. How did you not see what Vanessa was doing all these years?" He sighed heavily. "After your mother died, I was lost. Vanessa stepped up to take care of things at home, and I was grateful. It was easier to believe her version of events than to face my own grief and inadequacy as a single parent. She became my connection to you, filtering everything through her perspective. By the time you left for college, I believed her narrative that you were pulling away from the family." "I never wanted to pull away from you," I said. "I just could not handle Vanessa's constant manipulation. It was easier to distance myself." "I understand that now," he replied. "After the wedding, when I confronted her, she finally admitted everything. She has been jealous of our relationship since you were a child. She felt I always favored you, and after your mother died, she saw an opportunity to have me all to herself. Have you spoken to her since?" He shook his head. "She left for a business trip to Florida the day after I confronted her. She is staying with a friend in Miami and refuses to discuss what happened. I do not know when or if she will come back." We talked for nearly 3 hours, going through painful memories and misunderstandings. There were tears on both sides, recriminations, and eventually the beginnings of understanding. "I want to try to rebuild our relationship," my father said as we prepared to leave. "I know I do not deserve another chance, but if you are willing, I would like to get to know the amazing woman you have become." "I need to think about it," I replied honestly. This is not something we can fix in one conversation. He nodded, accepting my boundary. Take all the time you need. I will be here when you are ready. Over the following months, we began a careful reconciliation. Weekly phone calls became regular visits. I introduced him properly to Benjamin's family, including Jack, who displayed remarkable grace in welcoming my father despite their awkward first meeting. 3 months after our first reunion, my father suggested a family dinner at his home, including Benjamin's parents and Jack. It was a tentative step toward blending our families, and while there were awkward moments, there was also genuine effort on all sides. After dinner, I found my father and Jack in the living room, deep in conversation. I want to thank you for being there for Adrian when I was not, my father was saying. Walking her down the aisle should have been my privilege, but you did it with honor. Jack nodded thoughtfully. She is a remarkable young woman. You should be very proud of who she has become, largely through her own strength and determination. My father agreed. I just wish I had been more present to see it happening. Their conversation gave me hope that perhaps the wounds of the past could truly heal with time and effort. Vanessa remained distant, occasionally sending impersonal text messages or holiday cards, but avoiding any real conversation about what had happened. I came to accept that some relationships might never be repaired, and that was okay. 6 months after the wedding, we hosted our first Thanksgiving as a married couple. Our dining table was filled with Benjamin's family, my father, cousin Thomas, and a few close friends. Vanessa was invited, but declined without explanation. As we went around the table, sharing what we were thankful for, my father's voice broke with emotion. I am thankful for second chances, he said simply, and for a daughter whose capacity for forgiveness humbles me every day. When it was Jack's turn, he smiled warmly around the table. I am thankful for the reminder that family is created through love and choice, not just biology. And I am especially thankful to have gained another niece in Adrian, whose courage and grace inspire me. On our 1-year anniversary, Benjamin and I held a small dinner party to celebrate. Jack surprised us with a toast that brought tears to my eyes. 1 year ago, I had the privilege of walking this beautiful young woman down the aisle to marry the man she loves. What began as a response to absence has become one of the greatest gifts of my life. The opportunity to be part of Adrian and Benjamin's journey. May your marriage continue to grow in strength and joy, and may you always remember that true family consists of those who choose to love you even when it is difficult. As I reflect on the journey that brought us here, I realize that sometimes life's greatest wounds can lead to unexpected healing. My father's absence on my wedding day led to Jack's presence, which in turn created a bridge for my father's return to my life. The family I have now includes both those I was born to and those I have chosen, all imperfect, all valuable in their own ways. I have learned that forgiveness does not mean forgetting or excusing harmful behavior. It means freeing yourself from the burden of resentment and creating boundaries that protect your heart while allowing for growth and change. The father who walks you down the aisle should indeed be someone who has walked beside you through life's challenges, supporting and loving you unconditionally. Sometimes that person shares your DNA, and sometimes they come into your life through other paths. What matters most is not who stands beside you on one important day, but who shows up for all the ordinary days that follow. I am fortunate to have found my tribe, the people who choose me every day, just as I choose them. Have you ever had someone unexpected step up for you when family let you down? Or have you been the person who stepped in when needed? Share your stories in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to hear more tales of family forgiveness and finding your own path. And remember, sometimes the most beautiful families are the ones we create through love and choice, not just the ones we are born into. Thank you for listening, and may you find your own tribe of people who choose you every single day.